Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shishi Kodanitai Maya Purushashi ki jai. Shri Tulsinath Maharaja ki jai. Shri Giridhari Lala ki jai. Shri Nishingadev Bhagavan ki jai. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Volume 6, entitled Uniting Two Worlds. The chapter is entitled I Have Done My Part. Sometimes Prabhupada would clap his hands softly to the kirtan, and he was always ready to hear and evaluate reports of his disciples' preaching. The main difference about Prabhupada was his physical appearance. As one GBC man put it, he looked like one of the great ascetics depicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam, grown extremely thin like Dhruva Maharaj or Rantidev, who performed great austerities while wrapped in meditation on the absolute truth. Srila Prabhupada would alternatively sit up in bed or lie down while hearing Kirtan or Srimad Bhagavatam. Now he was always surrounded by concerned disciples, and he seemed happier. Some of the devotees who had been with him in Vrindavan just before all the DBC secretaries had arrived could see that he felt more encouraged. Perhaps by the sincere prayers of all the devotees, a dramatic change might come. Bhavananda Gosvami and Jayapataka Swami brought reports from Srila Prabhupada's beloved Mayapur project. Bhavananda said the temple was filled with transcendental activity, and the Gurukul boys would chant Hare Krishna even while sweeping the roads. Work was just beginning on a new residence for Srila Prabhupada. It would be surrounded by fountains, a terrace, and a big pond. It has not yet begun, Srila Prabhupada asked. Jayapataka Swami replied that the plans had been drawn and that the architect said it would be no problem. They could build right through the rainy season. How long it will take? Tamal Krishna asked on Srila Prabhupada's behalf. 6 months. Srila Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna, I think you are tied to this planet by the love of your devotees. Srila Prabhupada uttered a thoughtful, all right. Although Srila Prabhupada had indicated a will to live by saying, all right, to Bhavananda he said, there is no hope of life, therefore I have called the GBC. If I can die in Vrindavan, Krishna can accomplish anything, but from the physical condition, there is no hope. But Krishna is Parameshwara, Bhavananda said. Prabhupada laughed. That is another thing. If Krishna liked, then he would live. But Prabhupada wanted his disciples to understand the critical state of his health. The brain is working, he said, but the body is not allowing. Don't worry. Everyone will die today or tomorrow. I am also an old man. There is nothing to be regretted. It is up to Krishna. Divine Grace C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Do you have a verse?
So this is a verse, Madhya Lila chapter 19, text 1, but no purpose actually.
Okay, that's fine. No.
Madhya Lila chapter 19, text 1.
Okay, no problem. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
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 Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So today is a disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami. It's a very, very significant day for the Vaishnava devotees. So I was just gonna put this verse up. We're reading from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 19. Chapter entitled Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Srila Rupa Goswami. Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam Kalena Luptam Nija Shaktim Utkaha Kalena Luptam Nija Shakti Utka Kalena Luptam Nija Shakti Utka Sancharya Rupe Vyatanot Punaha Sa Sancharya rupe vyatanot punasa.
Sancharya rupe vyatanot punasa.
Sancharya rupe vyatanot punasa.
Sancharya rupe vyatanot punasa.
Prabhur
Prabhu
vido
Vidau
prag
Rag
iva
Iva
lokasrishtim.
Lokashishim
Prabhur vido prag iva lokasrishtim.
Prabhu Vidau Iva Lokashishim
Prabhur vido prag iva lokasrishtim.
Prabhu Vidau Iva Lokashishim
Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartam.
Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam
Kalena luptam nija shakti mutka. Sancharya rupe vyatanot punasa. Prabhur vido pragiva loka srishtim. Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartam. Kalena luptam nija shakti mutka. Sancharya rupye vyatanot punasa. Prabhur vido pragiva loka srishtim.
Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam
Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartam.
Kalena Luptam Nija Shakti Mutka
Kalena luptam nija shakti mutka.
Sancharya Rupe Vyatanot Punasa
Sancharya rupe vyatanot punasa.
Prabhu Vidau Pragiva Loka Srishtim
Vrindavaniyam rasakela vatam
Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam
Kalena luptam nitra shakti mutskam
Kalena Luptam Nija Shakti Mutka
Sanchaya rupe vyatanot punasa
Sancharya Rupe Vyatanot Punasa
Prabhu vidau pragiva loka srishtim
Prabhu Vidau Pragiva Loka Srishtim
Vrindavaniyam rasakela vatam
Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam
Kalena luptam nija shakti mukta
Kalena Luptam Nija Shakti Mutka
Sanchaya rupe vyatnot punasa
Sancharya Rupe Vyatanot Punasa
Prabhu vida pragiva loka srishtim
Prabhu Vidau Pragiva Loka Srishtim
Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartam. Kalena luptam nija shakti mutka. Sancharya rupe vyatanot punasa. Prabhur vido pragiva loka shrishtim. Vrindavaniyam. Related to Vrindavan. Rasakeli vartam. Talks about the pastimes of Shri Krishna. Kalena, with the course of time. Luptam, lost. Nija Shaktim, his personal potency. Utkaha, being eager. Sancharya, infusing. Rupe, to Rupa Gosvami. Vyatanot, manifested. Punaha, again. Saha, he. Prabhuhu, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. with hope unto Lord Brahma,
unto Lord Brahma,
Prag Iva,
Pragya,
as formerly,
as formerly,
Lokasrishtam,
Lokasrishtam,
the creation of this cosmic
the
manifestation.
creation of this cosmic manifestation.
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, the Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma with the details of the creation and manifested the Vedic knowledge. In exactly the same way, the Lord, being anxious to revive the Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna, impregnated the heart of Rupa Goswami with spiritual potency. By this potency, Srila Rupa Goswami could revive the activities of Krishna in Vrindavan, activities almost lost to memory. In this way, he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Responsibly, please. Before the creation
Before the creation
of this cosmic manifestation,
of this cosmic manifestation,
the Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma
the Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma
with the details of the creation
with the details of the creation
and manifested the Vedic knowledge.
and manifested the Vedic knowledge.
In exactly the same way,
In exactly the same way,
the Lord,
the Lord,
being anxious to revive the Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna,
being anxious to revive the Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna,
impregnated the heart of Rupa Goswami
impregnated the heart of Rupa Goswami
with spiritual potency.
with spiritual potency.
By this potency,
By this potency,
Srila Rupa Goswami
Srila Rupa Goswami
could revive the activities
could revive the activities
of Krishna in Vrindavan,
of Krishna in Vrindavan,
activities almost lost to memory.
activities almost lost to memory.
In this way,
In this way,
he spread Krishna consciousness
he spread Krishna
throughout the world.
throughout the world.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. By the mercy of spiritual master, blind man can see the stars, lame man can cross the mountains, and dumb man can speak eloquently. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto lotus feet of my spiritual master. Krishna Prishtai Bhutale Shrimati Radha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Shrimate Bhaktivedanta. So, such a beautiful verse. Thank you for finding this. I read the Sanskrit again because it's so sweet. Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartam kalena luptam nidya shakti mutka sancharya rupe vyatanot punasa prabhur vido pragiva loka srishtim. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, the Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma with the details of the creation and manifested the Vedic knowledge. In exactly the same way, the Lord, being anxious to revive the Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna, impregnated the heart of Rupa Goswami with spiritual potency. By this potency, Srila Rupa Goswami could revive the activities of Krishna in Vrindavan, activities almost lost to memory. In this way, he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So today is a very, very special day called Rupotsava, Disappearance Day of Rupa Goswami. When the Lord comes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with Krishna himself, came to establish the Yoga Dharma, sharing, chanting, distributing the holy name of the Lord. So whenever the Lord comes, he's never alone. He always brings his most confidential associates with him to assist in his mission. So Rupa Goswami is one of those most confidential, special associates of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada, in the preface of Nectar of Instruction, he says that this movement, Hare Krishna movement, is conducted under the guidance of Rupa Goswami. Lord Chaitanya has chosen Rupa Goswami to reveal the most essential teachings of Krishna consciousness and to revive them, because the nature of this world is that no matter how wonderful and empowered are the teachers who are sent by Krishna, or Krishna comes himself to establish the pure teachings and establish the disciplic succession through which the knowledge is passed generation after generation. Because of the polluted heart of the living entity and material contamination of the heart, the teachings tend to lose its essence. So therefore, again and again, Krishna says, I am coming again and again, and he sends his empowered representatives again and again to revive and continue the purity of teachings. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has chosen Rupa Goswami as the most important devotee to reveal these teachings to the world, to revive the teachings of pure bhakti that were more or less lost by the time, 500 years ago. The mission of Rupa Goswami was to fully revive those teachings and write literature that fully establishes the Siddhanta, the teachings, the behavior of the devotee. And the mission was to excavate as well the Vrindavan and also to build the temples in Vrindavan and to expand the glories of Krishna around the world. So we'll go a little bit through his life and his teachings, whatever we manage to do in the next 25 minutes. The glorifying devotee of the Lord is actually very, very essential and very purifying for us. Even though I am unqualified really to glorify such a wonderful, powerful devotee of the Lord. Often devotee says, that glorification of such a great devotee is like, a dwarf trying to touch the moon, or the bird, trying to fly to the moon. But we should do it for our own purification, and that glorification Krishna considers even more pleasing to him that glorification of Krishna, glorification of devotee of the Lord. It's very, very potent and very, very pleasing to Krishna. So we just try to say some words about Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami, he was born in a very elevated Brahmin family. His father's name was Kumar Dev and mother's name was Revati Devi. And they were three brothers actually were born. Sanatana Goswami was the senior brother, Rupa Goswami was middle, and Anupam was the youngest. And from very childhood, they displayed very natural attraction to the Lord. Anupam actually was Ram Bhakta, but Sanatan and Rupa, they had this amazing attraction to Krishna from their very childhood. They were great, great devotees from very, very, very young age. And they became great scholars of Srimad Bhagavatam. They knew many languages. They had amazing leadership qualities, Rupa and Sanatan especially. Their character was just absolutely wonderful. People just loved them naturally. Was just amazing personalities, so wonderful, and so many wonderful transcendental qualities they displayed. And at the same time, despite of all these wonderful qualities that they had, they were very humble. And Rupa Goswami was very, very humble person. So because they became famous by their power, by their qualities, by their example, then at that time the Mughal ruler of Bengal, Nawab Hussain Shah, his advisors, they suggested to him that if you can recruit these two people for your government, then you will establish your rule very powerfully and they will manage things very nicely and you will flourish. So he came to Nawab Hussain Shah, sent his representatives and actually threatened Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. He said, you must become my ministers. If you don't, I'm going to persecute Vaishnavas, persecute devotees, torture them, kill them, etc. So they were blackmailed to accept those very high posts. And actually, they did such a wonderful job. Sanatana Goswami became a prime minister. And Rupa Goswami, he became a home minister. And they were doing such a wonderful job that even this Nawab Hussain Shah, he was like a demon. He was really, really dacoit, very terrorist in the modern world. In the modern world, he was like a proper terrorist in charge of the, entire state. But because they were doing such a wonderful job and they were so sweet and gentle, that Nawab Hussain Shah, he practically started to treat them like his own brothers. Actually started to love them, even with they were such a wonderful qualities that even the demons loved them. And that history continued to their life. Dira Adira Priyayo. That there is the song about Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. They were dear to the gentle and to the ruffians. They're such a wonderful people. They never insulted anyone in their life. They're such a wonderful devotees. And therefore, because they're doing such a wonderful job, Nawab Hussain Shah bestowed upon them great wealth and riches. According to the modern day estimation, and a lot of people don't realize it, that actually before British came to India, India was probably the richest country in the world. It was absolutely flourishing. it had immense wealth in many ways, and Nawab Hussain Shah shared practically his wealth in equal parts between himself, Sanatana Goswami, and Rupa Goswami, almost in the 3 parts. So according to estimation of the modern day, they were multi-billionaires, very rich, extremely rich people. And at the same time, they maintained, despite of all this wealth, they maintained their gentle and humble and sweet attitude. Practically unheard of in modern day. That very powerful people can be simultaneously so humble, so unassuming, so sweet. So with that wealth, they did so many wonderful things. They actually served the Vaishnavas. They built many beautiful cottages next to the holy rivers, because this is where the holy people used to live, and used to invite holy persons to reside in those cottages, and they would very humbly serve them. And everything was flourishing in that state. So Nawab Hussain Shah just left completely under the care of Bengal, of these brothers, the whole Bengal state, and he used to just go and fight, conquer the lands. He was like a warrior, and the entire management of affairs or entire state was left to Sanatan and to Rupa Goswami. So they also created various types of buildings for the devotees to come and glorify Krishna, recite Srimad Bhagavatam. And they actually, in Ramakeli, that was the capital of Nawab Hussain Shah, they created a replica of Vrindavan. They didn't give up their attraction to Radha and Krishna despite of becoming, followers of this Mughal king. So they built a replica of Vrindavan called Gupta Vrindavan. And Gupta means hidden. They had the beautiful gardens. They installed very beautiful deity of Krishna called Radha Madan Mohan, attractor of the Cupid, Madan Mohan. And they also established the replica of forest of Terkadamba, and also they excavated through their, whichever workmen were there, they excavated the Radha Kund and Shyama Kund. So they used to wander around this Gupta Vrindavan, shedding their tears of love for Radha and Krishna, remembering Radha and Krishna. And used to invite the devotees there, recite Krishna's glorious Vedic literature, study Srimad Bhagavatam, whatever they could, whatever capacity they could, they were serving the Vaishnavas to their best capacity. And at the same time, they felt so bad that they are serving this cruel king, this terrorist who actually was terrorizing other countries and etc. They felt very bad about it and felt very humble. So then what happened, Sanatan, or another thing to mention, that if you had a family, if your brother or your son, for those who are parents maybe online, if your sons would become prime ministers and home ministers on the country, the parents would be extremely proud. Look at my son, he's a prime minister, or like we have my daughter is a prime minister, Nicola Sturgeon. I'm sure her parents are very proud of her. And actually many other people are proud, look, this person is a prime minister. But the Rantidev, he was devastated. He was such a great devotee of the Lord. He was thinking, my parents, my sons, they cannot, they're serving this cruel person. They're not really, their, devotion is restricted. They had to accept some habits of that Mughal ruler, and etc. He was feeling very, very bad. He didn't feel proud at all. He just had a completely different value system. In his value system, he wanted his sons to be great devotees of the Lord and be 100% dedicated to Krishna's service, rather than being in these very high positions and being very restricted in their devotional service. So he was praying every day, please somehow or another release, my dear Lord, liberate them from this, sad position that they were so, kind of blackmailed into this position. So Sanatana and Rupa Goswami are also feeling so bad and kind of praying to the Lord, please somehow or another help us. And then one day, Sanatana Goswami had this beautiful dream where this very effulgent golden skin color Brahman appeared in his dream, and he was dancing in ecstasy the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and shedding the tears of love. And he spoke to Sanatana Goswami, and I can't remember whether he realized himself or he revealed that he is the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared in this world to share Krishna consciousness with the fallen world. So when Sanatana Goswami woke up, he ran to Rupa Goswami and he said, I have this amazing dream. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has appeared in this world to propagate this Yuga Dharma, Krishna consciousness. We somehow or another have to meet him and dedicate our life to him. So after that, they were just waiting for the opportunity, just praying to the Lord, when will the day be ours? Then we can meet Lord Chaitanya and just give our life to his service. And then they started to send letters to Lord Chaitanya, begging for mercy to somehow or another liberate them from that situation, because it would not be so easy. The king was, although very favorable to them, if they would leave their posts, would get captured and etc., would be prevented. So they were begging for Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And again, they were writing letters and they're not receiving the reply. So sometimes that is our situation as well. Sometimes it seems that we are begging for Krishna's mercy. Please remove this anartha. Please remove ignorance from my heart, or lust, or whichever. Please remove some doubts from my heart. And it seems that nothing is happening. We should not lose hope. They never lost hope. They keep writing letters, keep begging mercy of the Lord, showing that patience. Because without patience, our surrender is incomplete. We may be enthusiastic, we may be very confident. This Rupa Goswami explains in Nectar of Instruction, these principles: enthusiasm, patience, confidence, utsaha nishchaya daryat. So these are very significant points. But if you're enthusiastic and confident, but if you lack patience, then our surrender is not complete. So we have to be very patient, patiently waiting for the Lord's mercy. Tatenu kampam susumikshumano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridarva vapubir hridadam navaste jiveta yomukti padasa daibak. That's the Lord Brahma's prayer, that those who patiently suffer the reactions to their past misdeeds, all the way from the core of their heart, praying to the Lord and begging for His mercy, they will inherit the kingdom of God, because it has become their rightful claim. So they're very patiently writing letters and not getting anything in return. Have you ever experienced that? writing messages to someone and they don't reply. it's quite upsetting. Or write an email or something like a one-way communication and you don't get anything back. It's quite frustrating. Or don't answer the phone call. But they became very, very, very patient, waiting for the Lord's mercy to descend. And then eventually they received this short message from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that said, just like a lady who has got a paramour, she performs her duties very nicely at home, so her husband would not suspect what is going on. But in the core of the heart, she's always thinking about her lover. And that was the message. But what they understood what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, that they should carry on with their service and in the heart of hearts continue serving Krishna. Think about Krishna always and perform their duties very nicely. And then they understood that Lord Chaitanya eventually will make an arrangement to free them from that situation. So this is also, often situation for the people who are not living in a temple, that there's so many duties we have to perform, and externally they may not look like Krishna conscious duties. And we have to even deal with people who are not devotees, who have so many other aspirations in life that can be even opposed to our part of Krishna consciousness and pure devotion. That if we can choose, of course, we can navigate and mold our life in such a way that we associate with devotees as much as possible. At the same time, as we're going through our duties, we should carry the same principle, perform our duties very nicely, and that is our service to Krishna. In the heart of hearts, think about Krishna and think about serving devotees, and spiritualize our existence and spiritualize our activities and do them as an offering to Krishna, no matter what those duties are. So they carried on with their service, and then eventually they reached the point that that's it. Rupa Goswami just decided that's it, I have to go now. And he divided his wealth into 4 parts. He gave in 3 parts. 50% he used for service of Vaishnavas, 25% he gave it to his family members, and 25% he kept for his emergencies. That is considered like a very, very high standard, which I don't think anybody has reached in ISKCON yet. Very high standard of how Prabhupada said how householders should, deal with their wealth. So anyway, we don't have so much time to get into that. So Rupa Goswami went, and Sanatana Goswami stayed actually because he had felt, he had some duties to do. So we won't so much touch upon Sanatana Goswami and just focus on Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami then went and he met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Or actually, there's one point before they left. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on the way to Vrindavan, he came and visited Ramakeli. He visited Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And he came, with millions of followers. Everybody was chanting and dancing in ecstatic love. And when Nawab Hussain Shah received the report of this person coming, he actually had the realization that this must be the Supreme Lord. He almost had the realization that, whoever is called Allah in the Quran and Krishna, that this is the same personality. He had this illumination in his heart, and this is actually Supreme Lord himself. at the same, and that's what Rupa Goswami as well said, this is the Supreme Lord, and this is the person who is actually empowering you to be a king, and you are his actually representative. And Navab Goswami Shah said, yes, I have also that realization. At the same time, because he was a very cruel person, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami felt that you may change at any moment, because that's the nature of a person with an uncontrolled mind. One day everything is fine, another day things can just go upside down. So therefore they went to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and pass him message that better you go to Vrindavan on your own, because you're attracting so much attention. It's going to be create a lot of trouble. You may get the trouble from this king. And also if you go to Vrindavan with so many people, you will look like a magician. But in Vrindavan, that should go in very solitary way. And they also received the mercy of Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, because that's how we receive a mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. First we have to receive the mercy of Lord Nityananda or Balaram, whose appearance is this Sunday. So in order to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we need to get the mercy of Nityananda, and by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we get the mercy of Radha and Krishna. So they received the mercy of Nityananda before they saw Lord Chaitanya. So yes, then after that, they were, soon after, they actually gave up their posts and went to meet Lord Chaitanya. And then Rupa Goswami met Lord Chaitanya at Prayag. Prayag is a very holy place where three most holy rivers of India meet together: Ganges, Yamuna, and Saraswati. Saraswati is now disappeared, is not visible, but actually, if you look from the picture, Google Earth, there is still visible kind of a line which is quite clear, where Saraswati used to flow, because when the river flows, it creates a certain how you call it, certain landscape, so that landscape is still visible. And there's some big festivals, Kumbh Mela, Megh Mela, where 50-60 million people come. Of course, at the moment is advertised through internet and etc. But up to recently, when there was no internet, still 50-60 million people will come without any advertisement. It's the biggest spiritual festival in the world. So there, Lord Chaitanya met Rupa Goswami, and Lord Chaitanya has instructed Rupa Goswami into the all essential teachings of Krishna Bhakti, and he asked and ordered Rupa Goswami to do 4 things. One is to actually, you have to go to Vrindavan and do the 4 things. One is to excavate Vrindavan and find all the holy places of Krishna's and Radha and Krishna's pastimes. It was number 1. Number 2 was to build the temples for Krishna. And there are many deities in Vrindavan, because at that time it just became like a jungle. It was completely forgotten, after Krishna visited, it was just a jungle and just a few people were living there, and all the places were completely covered. And there was some deities as well, that some of them were under the ground, some of them were in the bushes and etc. And those various deities needed to be excavated and temples established. So that's Lord Chaitanya gave the second order to Rupa Goswami. The third one was to establish the proper behavior of the Vaishnava, because they were such a gentle souls, and they exemplified fully and wonderfully the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and behavior of devotee. And the fourth one, and very, very significant one, was to write literature, Krishna Bhakti literature, establishing the superiority of Bhakti path as the ultimate goal of everything, of pure devotion to Krishna being the ultimate goal of all paths, pure love of God being the topmost goal of life. And then later on, after this, instruction, then Rupa Goswami, he went to Bengal, and then he went to Jagannath Puri. And in Jagannath Puri, where it was Lord Chaitanya's base, he met Lord Chaitanya again and met all the associates of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya has introduced Rupa Goswami to all the devotees. And it was revealed at that time that Lord Chaitanya has chosen Rupa Goswami to reveal those teachings. And there was one occasion where it was Ratha Yatra, where Lord Chaitanya was dancing in ecstasy in front of Lord Jagannath in a mood of separation from Krishna, and recited this beautiful, beautiful verse that actually nobody could understand. It was just very sweet and wonderful verse, but devotees couldn't understand the meaning of that verse. And Rupa Goswami was there, and he heard that verse. And then later, after Ratha Yatra, he written on a palm leaf this kind of paraphrasing and actually fully explaining what this verse meant. And he left that palm leaf and went to take bath or something. And Lord Chaitanya came, he picked up this palm leaf and he read from it. And he just couldn't believe it. He thought, how Rupa Goswami knows my heart so well. Nobody could understand the meaning of this verse, but Rupa Goswami understood it. And he showed to his associates, Swarup Damodar, and later on he also showed to Ramananda Roy, who are like a most confidential companions of Srimati Radharani, Lalita and Vishaka. So he showed this verse and he said, what is it? How Rupa Goswami can know my heart? And this devotee said, because Rupa Goswami is so humble, such a gentle soul, despite of his unlimited, wonderful qualifications, he's so humble. And actually when Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami came to see Lord Chaitanya in Ramakeli, they just so humbly approach him and they're saying, people call us scholarly, call us intelligent, but we are the most fallen. We don't know who we are. We are identifying with the body. We think that we are great, but actually we don't know our true spiritual identity. And they were so humble despite of their qualifications that Lord Chaitanya started crying. Please stop speaking like this. Your humility is breaking my heart, he was saying. So because of that humility, Lord Chaitanya empowered Rupa Goswami with full realizations of this pure devotional service, that he could write this amazing, amazing literature. And this verse that we read this morning, that's another verse that when Lord Chaitanya heard it, and Haridas Thakur heard it, who was a Namacharya, and also Swarup Damodar Goswami, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, all the greatest scholars of that time, when they heard this verse, they just was praising Rupa Goswami in ecstasy, as if they had many, many mouths. They said there is no more beautiful glorification of the holy name of the Lord in entire Vedic literature. So I'd like to read this verse now. I'm sure you heard it before, but just to read it again. I do not know how much nectar 2 syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the halls of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. This is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 199. And then again, to show his devotion, although he had the highest, pure devotion, he was pure devotee from his birth. This is his prayer, showing, how humble he was. He felt that he had no love for Krishna, despite of the fact that he had full love for Krishna. I have no love for Krishna. nor the causes for developing love for Krishna, namely hearing and chanting. And the process of bhakti yoga, in which one is always thinking of Krishna and fixing his lotus feet in the heart, is also lacking in me. As far as philosophical knowledge or pious works are concerned, I don't see any opportunity for me to execute such activities. Above all, I am not even born in a nice family. Therefore, I must simply pray to you, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Krishna, the maintainer and beloved of the gopis. I simply wish and hope that some way or other I may be able to approach your lotus feet. And this hope is giving me pain because I think myself quite incompetent to approach the transcendental goal of life. So this is for us a very beautiful example of this humility and hoping against hope to attain this pure devotion. Actually, Rupa Goswami explains that the really only qualification to attain Krishna consciousness is the greed to attain it. Somehow or another, we need to beg, borrow, or steal, develop this desire to attain Krishna. And that attraction will help us to go through everything, through fire, all the rules and regulations, all the things that are lacking. We'll be able to surpass those difficulties. Krishna will help us to fill the gap. Somehow or another, we develop this attraction and desire for Krishna. And no matter how much qualified and great we may be, according to material estimation, no matter how high position we may attain, materially or spiritually, we should exemplify and follow in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, who has established the Vaishnava behavior for the whole movement, that we need to follow in its footsteps. It is Trinada Pisunichana, Tarora Pisahishna, Amanina, Manadina, Kirtaniya Sadahari. You should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree. One should always offer respect unto others and should never expect respect in return. In that way, we can chant the holy name constantly. So this is such a significant teaching. And this is the fundamental principle of empowerment. If you really want to have a sustainable, to become empowered, it's possible. You can be very dedicated, very sincere, very hardworking, and chant, to the best of our ability, and Krishna will empower us. However, to make the empowerment sustainable, that it lasts throughout our life. So no matter how, you start actually Krishna consciousness, considering no matter, even if you have a great material qualifications, spiritually we start as a mouse. We should consider that I'm just a mouse. But Krishna, by his mercy, by the potency of this process, is so potent that a mouse can become a cat can become a dog can become a tiger can become a roaring lion. However, if you become proud, if you become think that we're better than everybody else, if you start offending devotees because of that pride, then even a roaring lion will become a mouse again. Punya Mushtika Bhava. It's a very famous Puranic or Upanishadic story that Prabhupada told, that even a great roaring lion, no matter how great that lion can be, will become a mouse again if that lion, whether it's she or he, will commit offenses to devotees and become puffed up by their qualifications. And Krishna will empower in many wonderful ways. But if you consider that power ours, become proud and become arrogant, then Krishna will remove it and can become a mouse again. So we should cultivate this humility, and no matter how many wonderful services we perform, no matter how many years we have been in the movement, no matter how many wonderful services we have performed, We have to follow in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami and keep this humility in the heart, serve the Vaishnavas, humble ourselves before the Vaishnavas, humble ourselves before spiritual master, and don't think that we are great, we consider ourselves humble. So I'll stop at this point because we run out of time. Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupotsava ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande Haribo.
Raghunatha Prabhu ki
Gaura